Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about American politics, and we're going to talk about this. You know what? I am going to say shocking election. I don't think that this result should have shocked anybody, but it did. It really shocked Democrats. Like, they actually believed that Kamala Harris was a real candidate. I knew she was a silent surrender, a placeholder. And I said that for months, and I got the receipts. I've been saying it for months, right? So I called this. I 100% called this. But what I want to talk about right now is we have to change the laws about voting. So what needs to happen? So first of all, right now, the problem that we need to fix is Donald Trump has won, but the only reason he won is that his margin of win was so tremendous, 223 to 277, that 4 uncounted states did not matter. 4 uncounted states. Now, what are those states? Nevada and Arizona, Alaska, and Michigan. Okay. Now, this is abominable and unacceptable and dangerous. And this is why it's got to get fixed. This is dangerous. This is dangerous. This is dangerous to the American people. This is I truly believe lives are on the line, and we cannot do this again in 2028. All right. So first of all, shame, shame, shame on every single one of these states, and especially shame on Maricopa County in Arizona, saying that they were going to take 2 weeks to count the vote. That is, like, they should have, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, they should have fired every single person who was staffing the last one and said, you guys are horrible. This nation cannot endure a 2-week count, right? Like, that is a 2 weeks of pure chaos. And here's the issue. The Republicans do not abide chaos, right? They will step in and stop the chaos in the way that Republicans know how to stop chaos. The tool they use to stop chaos sits in the back of their pickup truck, right? It's horizontal. It's about 3 feet long, right? And they do not abide, like, Republicans do not abide chaos. Democrats do. They live in it. They swim in it. They marinate in it, right? Republicans don't allow it, right? Like, and so this is outrageously dangerous. And the fact that the only reason we are safe today, right, on November 6th, is because Donald Trump's win was so tremendous. Like, it was so dramatic, it was so dynamic, right, that 4 uncounted states didn't even matter, right? But the reality is, so how do we fix this? Here's the solution. Okay, first of all, from that, like, we're not going to be able to fix, all the Luddite stuff, right? But this is a real fix. So first of all, every poll in the country closes at 6 p.m. Every single poll in America closes at 6 p.m. You can no longer vote after work, period, end of sentence. And I know it was very helpful to be able to vote after work. Some people can't get there beforehand, but convenience is not worth lives. And continuing to hurtle into these it's not just me saying. Every major mainstream said it could be weeks before we know, and people will be fraught, ragged, and frustrated, right? And when I'm telling you, when Republicans get fraught, ragged, and frustrated, they don't stay that way. They take action, right? And that action is dangerous. It is outrageously dangerous to the nation, right? So we have to cut off every poll at 6 p.m., every polling place. You have to put your ballot in before 6 p.m., period. End of sentence, right? Now, what does this do? It drags it back by 3 hours, okay? And then, okay, here's what happens. Then, when that happens, everybody has until midnight, actually, I'm sorry, till 11 p.m., right? 11 p.m., across, doesn't matter what time zone you're in, you have until 11 p.m. to count the votes, right? And at 11 p.m., all votes that are counted, that's it, right? If there's any uncounted votes, they simply are burned. Like, literally, just burn them, right? Yeah, like, and publicly burn them, right? They'll just publicly burn the votes, right? And the reason why is they weren't counted. They don't get to be counted, right? And we are saying that, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and then what I'm saying is right then, all the count is in by 11, and the race is called by 5 pre-selected traditional newspapers. WAPO, New York Times, AP, like, and one thing is really fascinating. I don't know if you guys caught this. Nobody cared what any internet site's called, right? Everybody's like, this ain't done until New York Times calls it. This ain't done until WAPO calls it. This ain't done until a real newspaper calls it, right? So, and I think that is interesting. We have 2 real traditional newspapers. They print, they pay. Oh, and even, you know what? I'll throw USA Today. USA Today is a perfectly viable newspaper. If you print a newspaper and you distribute it, you get to call the election, right? So every vote counted, the entire count is what's counted by 11 p.m., right? And then literally everybody kisses just like it's New Year's at midnight when their candidate wins, or there's a new tradition and you close your eyes and put your hands on the ground, right? If you lose, right? In lamentation. It's called the lamentation bend, right? And that's it. Like, and the reason why is you're like, oh, Scott, there's so many problems. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of problems with what I just said. But you know what? None of those problems are as bad as losing Americans. And if this happens again in 2028, we could very well lose Americans, right? Americans could be lost in the fracas, lost in the ruckus, lost in the skirmish. And we cannot allow that. We cannot allow that. Every polling spot closes, no more votes taken by 6 p.m. Okay? Then every single county has until 11 p.m. to count the vote. Any votes that aren't counted get burned publicly, right? And the public can come watch, right? And it is then on that county to fire every single person who let a single vote burn, right? Say, all of you suck at this, and we're going to replace you next time. We will never lose another vote, right? And the public can view it, right? And I truly believe that is correct, right? Your county, if your county is inefficient at counting votes, you don't deserve to have your county, your votes counted, right? This is a get good or go home, right? Like, and I really feel it's extremely important that we adopt this immediately, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing and have a fetch millennium.